We begin today at the Mishnah, at the top of the Yamud, on Daf Hey Amud Aleph. Zakt Eilige Mishnah, Mishalshin b'momain, when Edom Zaymimin testified falsely and they wanted to be mechayev someone to pay money, so these Edom Zaymimin, the fact that you have to give them the same punishment that they intended to give the other, this person, it's divided between them. The payment is divided between the Edom. Before on Daf Gimel, Rashi said that Mishalshan, there's two meanings. Either Mishalshan means Bezdin serves as a third party, as a shalish to divide, or Mishalshan means if it's three Edom, then it's divided in thirds when they pay this money. But ve'ei Mishalshan b'Makos. However, when it comes to Malkus, that is something that's not divided amongst the Edom. So Naketzad, what does this mean? What's the case? Heidu shu chayiv l'chaverim esayim zuz. Edom testified that someone owes 200 zuz. V'nimtzu zaymimin, and they're found to be Edom zaymimin. Mishalshum beineim, we divide between them the payment of the 200 zuz. Aval im hidu shu chayiv malkus arboim, if they testified that this person did an aveda, that he's chayiv malkus for it, v'nimtzu zaymimin, and they're found to be Edom zaymimin, kol echad ve'echad loika arboim. Each one of the Edom zaymimin separately gets the full malkus of 39. So immediately from where do we know to make this distinction? Amar Abaye, so Abaye says, because Nemar Rasha b'chayve Malkius, the Torah uses the term of Rasha in the pasuk where it says the chiyuv of Malkus, where it says V'hoya im bin hakaysa Rasha, and V'nemar Rasha b'chayve Mrs. Bezdin, and it also uses the term of Rasha regarding someone that's chayv Mrs. Bezdin, where the Torah says that lesikhu kayful nefesh retzeach ashahu Rasha lamus, and therefore we compare the two and say Mala halon e Misa lemechza. Just like when it comes to Misa, there is no Misa that is half, so you give the Chi of Misa fully. Avkan ein Malkus lemechza. So too regarding Malkus, there is no Malkus half, and therefore each one of the Edom Zaymin get the full Chi of Malkus. Rava, however, brings a different source. And as the Rishonim point out, that there's a reason not to accept Abaye's pshat, that he compares, you have a Gzeri Shava here, and he compares Rasha, because there's a klal, ein donin efsher, me'i efsher. You don't learn out a case where it's impossible to a case where it is. By Misa, it's impossible for there to be half Misa. And that's why there's no half. But maybe by Malkus, where it could be half, it will be half. So therefore, Rava brings another source. So Rava says, Be'inon kashazamam lasais la'achiv v'leken, that it's necessary to fulfill what the Torah says, one that Zamam Lasais La'achiv, what he wanted to do for his brother, and that is to give this person, this Yid, they wanted to be Mechayev him a full Malkus of 39. And if you're going to give each one only half, so then they're not getting that punishment of Kasha Zama, what they intended to give him. Therefore each one gets the full Malkus. But the Gemara asks, but if that's the Svara, Mamanami. You should say the same thing with the money, that they wanted to be mechayev someone, in the example of the Mishnah, 200 zuz, so I should be mechayev each one of the Edom, 200 zuz as well, to give them the punishment of kasha zama. And says the Gemara, Mamain mitzdaref. Mammon is different. When it comes to money, you could combine the amount of money to the total of 200. If each one of the Edom pays 100, so then by that nidden, that person now that receives this payment, in his pocket, the money combines to be 200 zuz. So even though the point of here is the kasha zamam of these Edom, and we want to give them the full kasha zamam, but the combination, when the money comes together in his pocket and he has now 200 zuz, it combines to be the einish of kasha zamam. However, malkus lay mitzdaref. When it comes to malkus, one person getting half and the other person getting the other half, you can't combine the malchus of two separate people, two separate Edom. The malchus of one body and the malchus of another doesn't combine. And therefore over here, the kasha zamam is fulfilled only if each one of the Edom gets the full amount of the 39 malchus. The Edom, they do not become Edom zaymimin ad sheyezimu es atzman, until the second group of Edom that are coming to say that the first one testified falsely are going to say that they themselves were not there in that place where they claim that they witnessed what they're testifying about. That's what es atzman means. That the second group is coming to contradict this fact about themselves, that they were not there. Okay, so what does this mean? Omru, if the second group of Edom come and say, Me'idan anu, or rather the first group of Edom comes and says, and And so the first group is saying a testimony that so-and-so killed someone. Now the second group of Edom come and say, how do you testify this? Shaharei neragzeh, this person that you claim that got killed, or the murderer himself, haya imanu oisayim b'makom. He was with us at that time in a different location. So over here, the second group of Edom are actually contradicting a detail of the very story itself that the first group testified about. In such a case, the first category of Edom is not going to be considered Edom Zaymimin, which means that they are false Edom with all the halachas of Edom Zaymimin. Rather, what is such a case called? This is called a hakosha. When you have a contradiction between two groups of Edom regarding the actual story itself of what happened, so here it becomes a suffix. So one of the groups of Edom are lying and we don't know who it is. That's in this case. However, when is Edom Zaymimin? If the second group of Edom come and say, hey, Chatem Edom, how are you testifying about this individual? That he killed so-and-so. You, Atam, you were with us. As far as the story itself is concerned, we have nothing to say to contradict the story itself. We don't know, it did happen, it didn't happen. But what we can say is that you, these two Edom, you are with us in another place. It's this case where the Torah says that we trust the second group of Edom to passel the first group of Edom to become Edom Zaymimin v'nerogim malpiyam. And then, according to the second group of Edom, the first group of Edom were Makayim Kashazamam, and they get killed. Now, simply, this distinction that the Mishnah says here, the Gemara is going to bring the pasuk from where it's learned out from, but simply it's a Gzeres HaKosov. As the Gemara says in a few places, in Baba Kama and in other places, Eid Zaymim Chidushu. It's a novelty that the Torah says that we believe the second group in this scenario more than the first. Even though logically, why would the second group be believed more than the first? Just like in the case before that we say that it's a suffix. But there is a famous hesber that it says in the Tur and Rishonim that say that this could be compared somewhat as it's similar to a case where the second group of Edom would come and say, these two Edom that just testified about so-and-so that he's a murderer, they are Pasal Eidos. Why? Because they were Machal Shabbos, or for whatever reason they are testifying about the Edom themselves that they are Pasal Eidos. In such a case, the second group is believed. They're not coming to contradict anything that the first Edom said. All they're saying is, we can testify that they are Pasal Eidos. Similar over here by Edom Zaymimin, when they are not contradicting the story itself. They're saying we know nothing about the story. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't happen. But what we could say is that they are not kosher to say Edus about this because they were with us in a different location. That's the reason why the Torah is accepting the second Edus more than the first. But it's still a chiddush. It's not exactly the same as the case of Chilul Shabbos. They are coming and contradicting that they themselves were not there. But here the Torah says this chiddush that we believe the second group to be Mazim, the first group of Edom. There's another interesting thing, pshat over here in the Mishnah, in the first line of the Mishnah, when it says that Edom Zaymin are only Edom Zaymin Achi Yezimus Atzman. So I touched the Mishnah as Rashi and Drive of the Rishonim, but Rabbeinu Chananel brings another pshat from the Gaonim that say that the pshat over here is that the din of Edom Zaymin will only apply in the case where the first group of Edom don't argue back. After the second group of Edom come and say, you're with us somewhere else, the first group of Edom are quiet. But if the first group of Edom will argue back and say, no, it's not true, we were not with you, we were there, then the din of Edom Zaymin will not apply. That's an interesting chiddush. And according to this pshat, when the Mishnah goes on to say Keitzad, that's a separate inyan. It's a separate case. Achi Zimos Atzman means that the Edom themselves are quiet about this after the second group comes and says, you were with us, only then do they become Edom Zaymin. Okay, now another din the Mishnah says, Bo Achedim. If after we had this, that the first group of Edom were found to be Edom Zaymimin, now other Edom come along and testify the same thing that the first Edom said. And the Hizimum, this second group that was Mazim, the first group that testified so, now also was Mazim, this second group of Edom that came and said the same information. And again, Bo Achedim v'Hizimum happens the third time, that Edom came and said the same thing that the first Edom said, that so-and-so killed someone, and now the same group that was Mazim, the first and second group, come and say about the third group as well, oh, you were also with us. Even if this happens to 100 groups of Edom, Kulam Yehargu. We trust these Edom that are being Mazim, the first, second, and third group, and all of them are going to get the Einish of Kasha Zaman when the Edus over here was that this person was Chayiv Misa. Now, Rabbi Yehuda argues with this. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you can't trust these Edom that are being mazim, all these groups of Edom. This is these Edom that are being mazim, all these groups of Edom, these are Edom that went off the path. They're not speaking the truth. The only one that will be killed is the first group that they were mazim, but the other ones, we do not trust them, so we cannot kill any of the other groups based on their words. The Gemara is actually going to ask the obvious question that if we're not trusting these Edom Zayimim, so then even the first group shouldn't be killed either, because they're obviously being just mazim anybody. Anybody that comes and says the story says, oh, you also with us on the same business trip. You were with us here. So we don't trust them at all. The Gemara will address that. For? No. The second group of Edom come and say, Imanu Yisem b'makom ploini. That's the chiddush of the Torah that they're believed. But Rabbi Yehuda argues in this case where you see this chazaka after 2 times. Rabbi Yehuda says it's enough of a chazaka, that they're being mazim once and twice. Comes to the 3rd time, we say that they went off the path. This is not, something's fishy.
The Dayan should just say, go home, everyone's free. No one's going to get anything.
That's what halacha should be. So the Gemara will address that. So the Gemara Mili, from where do we know the source for what it says in the beginning of the Mishnah, how exactly Edom Zayimim works? That it's only if they say Imanu Hayisem b'makom ploini that they're saying regarding the Edom themselves and not regarding the story that happened. Amar Avada, the Amakra, the pasuk says, V'hinei eid sheker, ha'eid sheker ona. So the pasuk over here says eid sheker, meaning that the eid was found to be a liar. And what do you learn from this? Acha tishaker gufa shaledus, which means that until you find that the aid himself was not there. The lie that the second group is saying is the fact that the Eidim themselves were not there. In other words, it does not say in the pasuk v'hine eidus sheker. Eidus sheker would mean that the testimony is found, that there's something about the story, about the testimony itself that's found to not be true. But it says eid sheker refers to this, the way the Mishnah describes, that imanu ayisem, that the Eidim themselves were with us b'makom ploini. The Be'er Rabbi Shmuel Tana, Rabbi Shmuel teaches and says, it's learned from what it says in the pasuk, Lanes boy Sara, that the second group of Edom come and say, well, actually it's describing the first group, that it's now found to be that the first group is Lanes by Sara, that they said something which is Sara. What does Sara mean? Tisra gufa shel edus. Sara means that they veered off, that the gufa shel edus, that we find that what the lie here is that they themselves are saying something about their own themselves, that they were there and they were not there. That's the mashmos of the word Sara. Or other Rishonim say that it's learned from the word boy, because it says Lanes boy. Boy means that they themselves, the Edom Zayimim, are found to have not been there. Omar Rav said, Bo Shnayim v'Omru. 2 Edom come and say, B'mizrach bira, we were in this big hall, and we were on the east side of this hall, and Harak plenius nefesh, and there's someone that's testifying that someone killed someone. Now, Bo Shnayim, now another group of Edom come along and say, V'Omru, but haloi b'mayrav bira imanu ayisem. You were with us at that time when you claimed this happened. You were with us on the opposite side of this, on the west of this big hall. So, is this going to be Edom Zayimim? Says the Gemara Chazina, we have to see and estimate. If when they are standing on the west, on the other side, they can see from there to the east of this big hall, then they're not Zayimim, because they're testifying from one side of the hall to the other, and they can see. If it's impossible to see, then that means that they were not at that location where they say they saw this, and they will be Edom Zayimim. So the Gemara asks on this, Pshita, this is obvious that you have to estimate if they can see or not. And so the Gemara actually, no, Mao de Teme, I would think to say, Leichish l'nehoire body, that I should be concerned that maybe these Edom have unusual eyesight and they can see better than the average person, and maybe they could see even from a very far location in that same hall. Kamash Malan, and therefore it's telling you that no, we're not concerned about that this possibility that maybe they have this Nahoira body. In other words, it has to be a kind of case where it's really, really not possible, really not, almost impossible to see from this far location, and therefore we're not chayshish for this. Otherwise, we're talking over here about giving a chi of misa to these Edom. Yeah. And usually it says v'itzilu aida, that we have to err on the side of caution, and we have to try to do whatever, any svara possible to save them. But it has to be, the Rishonim talk about this actually, but it has to be something that is mamish, it's basically impossible to see. Similar halacha Rava said, Bo Shnai v'Omru. If 2 Edom come and say, B'Sura, B'Tzafra, B'Chad B'Shabbat, Harik Plenius Nefesh. In the city of Sura, in the morning, on Sunday, so-and-so killed someone. Now, Boshnayim, another group of Edom come and say, V'amru b'panya b'chad b'shabata. In the evening on that Sunday, Imanu Yisem ben Narda. You were with us in a different city, in the city of Narda. So now Chazina, we have to see and estimate imitzafra lepanya from the morning to the evening. Matzi azal misura le Narda. If it's possible that they traveled from the morning to the evening from Surah to Narda, then Layav Zaymimin. They wouldn't be Edom Zaymimin because they were there and they just traveled later in the evening to Narda. But v'ilav have Zaymimin. If it's impossible to travel, then they will be Edom Zaymimin and we'll give them a Chi of Misa. So again, the Gemara clarifies. The Gemara asks, Pshita, isn't this obvious? So the Gemara answers, Mao de Temen. Because no, I would think to say, Lechash legam la parcha, that I should be concerned that maybe there was some flying camel. Maybe they had some very quick way of how to get from one location to another. Some say, Mikan Raya, that even in those times they had airplanes or helicopters. And the Gemara uses this expression, gam la parcha. So I should be concerned that maybe they got there in a very unusual, quick manner. Kamash Malan, and therefore Rav is saying the halacha that we are not concerned for that because it's not something which is really possible. There is another Gemara in Yevamis where the Gemara does actually say that we are concerned about a gamla parcha. Here the Gemara says we're not. So it's a discussion. Taisus over there talks about it, but the simplest pshat in our Gemara here that the Rishonim say is that here is talking about a situation that it's mamish impossible. It's like it's clear that this is not what happened, and therefore we give them the Chi of Misa. Another said, two Edom come and say, on Sunday, so and so killed someone. Now, another two Edom come and say, on that Sunday you were with us in a different place. So that's false. But they say what happened was betrei b'shabata harek planius hanefesh. It was Monday. That was the day afterwards, Monday, when so and so killed this person. That's one case. Now, furthermore, Rav said, "V'lo yoid." Not only this, ela fila amru erev Shabbos harek planius hanefesh. Even if the second group now comes and says, "You're saying it happened Sunday." No, Sunday you were with us, but it was Friday, the Friday before that person killed someone. So now these Edom Zaymimin are Edom Zaymimin. As the Bachir adds, Harei Elu Neherogin. These Edom Zaymimin were found to say false testimony about that Sunday, and they're going to be killed. You're going to argue, but look, the fact is they testified about a person that was really a Ritzeach. It wasn't on that day that they said, it was the Monday after or the Friday before. But the Gemara now says it doesn't matter. They are Edom Zaymimin. Why? Because the Be'idne, the Kamasidi, in the time when these Edom, these false Edom testified that he killed someone on Sunday, Gavre Lav Barkatoluhu. This person is not an individual that is Chayiv Misa. He's an individual, the way Rashi puts it here is that until this person, these Edom rather, until these Edom came and testified that he killed someone on Sunday, the Reitzeach had an option to come and admit that he did this, and he would be potter. So therefore, when they came and testified about it, that he killed someone on Sunday, they caused that now he can't be Maida anymore, and therefore, they are the ones that cause him to be Chayiv Misa, and therefore the Einish of Kashazamam applies to them, to these Edom, and they'll be Chayiv Misa. That's Rashi's Pshat.
Why would it be potter?
So Taisvis and all the Rishonim ask on Rashi, whoever heard of such a thing, a Ritzeach could come and be Maida, and then he would pater himself. Huh? Yeah, no, but here we're talking about b'meizid. And the only time we find when one is Maida that he's pater is by Maida b'knas. Maida b'knas, someone's pater. But over here, to Aritzech is Maida sanani b'tzech. Just come and be Maida and he'll be pater. Taisa says a different shot. Taisa says that true, Hitaka killed someone. He killed him on Monday or even the Friday before. But the Edom that saw this, whether on Friday, whether on Monday, won't necessarily show up to Bezdin. And now when these Edom came and said that he killed someone on Sunday, they are saying a story and information that are being Mechayiv this person Misa, and you can't say, he would have been Chayiv Misa anyways. Now how do you know that the Edom on the other day would have actually ever showed up? Lavdafka they would have came. So therefore these Edom now are the ones that are being Mechayiv and Misa.
Even though there's stira like Sunday, Friday, and all these things are white.
Yeah, but that's not that. The stira is not the point here. The point is that the second Edom say Imanu Ayisem b'Makam Plani, which turns the first Edom into Edom Zaymimin. And the Chiddush is, even though the truth is that this person is Chayiv Misa, because he is a Ritzech, as the second group of Edom are saying. And what's going to end up happening over here is the Edom Zaymimin are going to get Misa, And the Reitzeach will also get Misa because he actually did kill someone, whether on Friday or on Monday. So they're both going to get Misa, the Eidim Zaymimin and the Reitzeach.
The Reitzeach gets Misa.
Yeah.
Then the Eidim Zaymimin aren't going to get Misa.
No, they are both. Actually, they're both going to get Misa
That's
because the
situation.
Reitzeach is a Reitzeach, so he gets Misa. And the Eidim Zaymimin said false testimony intending to kill a person that at the time when they said the Eidos, there was no other source for him being Chayiv Misa, and not necessarily would have anyone else showed up to be Mechayiv him Misa. That's how Tosfos puts it. And therefore, both the Eidim Zaymin and the Reitzeach will get Misa.
Very special case.
Yeah. Now, the Pshat in Rashi is schwer, but it is Achrein that discussed it, but Rashi says is this concept that the Reitzeach could be made.
How does that answer the question?
Of?
It could be Potter.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Tosfos does not answer Rashi. He gives a different shot. Yeah. Okay. So now the Gemara asks him this statement of Rava. My kamashmala. What was the chiddush that Rava was saying? Tanina. We understand this. We learned this in the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah here in the end of the Pedic. So it says the next plot. The Mishnah there talks about a case where you have two groups of Eidim that saw someone kill someone. You have one group of Eidim that are looking and seeing from one window, another group of Eidim that are seeing this from a different window, and they don't see each other. They're two separate groups. So now what happens? One group of Eidim that claim that we were there and we saw, they are actually found to be Eidim Zaymimin. But the other group of Eidim, they're not. They're not Eidim Zaymimin. What happens in such a case? Says the Mishnah, Lefichach, now therefore the case will here, the halach here will be, the Bach adds the word im nimtzis achas mehen memes, if one of these groups of Eidim are found to be Eidim Zaymimin, since the two separate groups, they haven't seen each other, so then who? Vehein nerogin. So now the Reitzeach will be killed because there's still another two Eidim that are saying there is a Reitzeach. And Vehain, and there'll be one group of Eidim that testify that he killed someone that are found to be Eidim Zaymimin will also be killed. Because you have a second group here that's saying that he is a Reitzeach, but this group of Eidim are Eidim Zaymimin. They're both going to be killed. Vashniya Petura. And the other group of Eidim is Pater. So we see right over here the chiddush, the same point that Rava basically said, that it's possible that you're going to give the Reitzeach the Chiyuv Misa, but at the same time you're going to give the Eidim Zaymimin the Chiyuv Misa as well, and it's not a contradiction. So what was Rava's chiddush? Says the Gemara, Seife Masha Enken, the Gemara din Itzrichalei. You're right. This part of the statement of Rava is not a chiddush. You could learn it from the Mishnah, but there's a continuation of what Rava says. As the Gemara now is going to explain, that in a case when the Eidim testified about a Gemara din, that Bezdin already ruled on this subject, that a chiddush that you can't learn from the Mishnah, and that Rava came to teach. Now, what exactly is this case? So here, it's the same, similar case to before, but with one added detail, which changes the whole thing. Says the Gemara, and this is the continuation of Rava's statement. Two Eidim come and say, that on Sunday, not that Pliny on Sunday killed someone. We saw that on Sunday, this person was in a Bezdin, and Bezdin ruled that he's Chayiv Misa. Now another two Eidim come and say about this. How could you testify that you saw that Bezdin was Mechayiv Misa on Sunday? On Sunday, you were with us in a different place. Ella, they come and say, Be'erev Shabbos Nigma Dina Shel Pliny. That when did Bezdin paskin that he's already Chayiv Misa? It was on Friday, before the day that these Eidim said it was. Or V'loyoid, or furthermore, Ella Fila Amru B'trei B'Shabbat Nigma Dina Shel Pliny. Even if the second group of Eidim come and say that the first group of Eidim are liars because they were not there on Sunday. But yet on Monday, a day later, it's true, then Bezdin paskin that this person is Chayiv Misa. In such a case, ein elu neragin. These Eidim that are found to say false testimony, but they will actually not be Chayiv Misa. The Einish Kashazamim does not apply. Why is that? They said false testimony. The answer is because the Be'idne, the Kamasadi, at the time when these Eidim are testifying, Gavre Ketalahu, this person that you testified about is actually like a dead man, because the Gemar din of the Bezdin already happened, whether it happened the Friday before or whether it happened on the Monday, but at this point there was already a Gemar din that he's a Gavre Ketila. So they said Eidus about someone that is Chayiv Misa, well, there was already a Gemar din that is the Gavre Ketila. And so that's why over here, only that Reitzeach will be killed. Similar, again?
Can't be an Erev Shabbos.
What can't be an Erev Shabbos?
The Gemara din.
Gemara din on Erev Shabbos? No? I'm trying to remember. On Shabbos, there's no Bezdin. I'm trying to remember.
Thursday.
Thursday,
you
yeah.
have to kill right away.
Yeah, okay, could be from the Gemara Sanhedrin.
Besides that, you don't really need those Eidim Zumamim. You already have the Dainim. You have so many people that you can find out about this thing, it's
correct.
mutar.
Okay. So now the Gemara brings the continuation that the same thing applies also regarding a money payment. V'chein le'inyan tashlumi knas. The same thing also if there was edus for a payment of a knas, and that is bo shnayim v'omru. Two edim come and say b'chad b'shabbat gana b'tovach o machar. That on Sunday this person stole this animal and then he slaughtered it or he sold it, and then you have to pay 4 or 5 times as much for the geneve. Ubo shnayim v'omru. Another two edim come and say b'chad b'shabbat on that Sunday amanu isen. You were with us in a different place. It happened on Monday. That he stole and he slaughtered or he sold it. So mishalmen. So these Edom are going to have to pay for their false testimony. Kashuzamam. And not only that, even if the second group of Edom come and say that it happened already before that day that you testified about him, on Friday already, this person stole and slaughtered or sold it. Still, these Edom are false Edom. They said it on Sunday, and they're testifying about something that there was no Gemar Din yet, and therefore they're going to have to pay for this.
What does it really matter?
It's going to be a einish of kashazomam. So, in other words, the ganev will have to pay 4 or 5 times as much, and the Edom as well, like similar to what we said before regarding the ritzech. It's the same halacha. And the Gemara explains the beidin of the kamasa di gavra lav bar tashluminu, because at the time when these false Edom testified about this person that he was chayiv in this knas, that he did it on a Sunday, they are testifying about a person that at that time there was no Gemara Din that he's chayiv to pay. So they said false testimony. They're Edom Zayim and the einish of Kashazama. However, Bo Shnayim v'Omru, if two Edom come and say B'chad b'Shabbat ganav v'tovach o macha v'nigmar dinoi, they say that he stole and he slaughtered or he sold and he's chayiv to pay 4 or 5 times as much, and there was already a Gemara Din of the Bezdin. Now another two Edom come and say it happened on that Sunday you were with us in a different place. That already from before on Friday he stole and there was already a Gemar Din that he's chayiv to pay. And similar to what we said before. Not only this, or it should be B'trei b'Shabbat, b'chad b'Shabbat ganav v'tovach machar. Okay, you can get the gears over here in the Gemara, b'chad or b'trei, that on a Sunday he stole and he slaughtered and he sold. U'b'trei b'Shabbat nigmar dina. It was actually on a Monday that there was the Gemar Din and the Bezdin. Ein mishalmen. The second group of Edom will not pay. Why? Because v'idne the kamasadi at the time when they are testifying, gavre bar tashlumenhu. This person was already someone that Bezdin ruled that he's chayiv. So when the Edom, the false Edom, came and testified that it happened on a Sunday, they're testifying about a person that's already chayiv that money. So they weren't coming to be mechayiv in money that the Bezdin didn't rule yet about him. So therefore, the Edom Zayimim will not get this punishment. Same exact thing like the case before. That's a good question. I didn't see yet. What the Gemara brings basically the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Sagt the Gemara weiter Rabbi Yehuda. It said in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda said in the case where you have Edom, a second group of Edom that are coming and are being mazim, one group of Edom, another group of Edom, and then a third group of Edom. So Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda is a statisizu. They veered off the path. That there's something fishy here. They're saying a lie. So the Gemara asks, but if that's the case, if we say that their eidos is false, so that afila katri shayna namiloi. So even the first group of Edom that they were mazim should also not get an einish of kashazam, a chiyuv of misid. But the Mishnah though says that according to Rabbi Yehuda, ein enereg al katri shayna b'lvad, that the first group does get the chiyuv of misid. Amar Rabavo, so Rabavo answers, the case is shekot mevahargo, that the first group, the second group was mazim them, and they already fulfilled the einish of kashazam, and they didn't know at that point that these Edom, the second group of Edom, that they're going to be mazim again and again, and then they will realize that there's something fishy here. So the first one was already killed. That's the case here. But if they weren't, then you're right. Then we don't kill anybody based on the words of these Edom because they're istatis. There's something off with them. So the Gemara asks, that can't be the pshat of the Mishnah. Mai dahava hava. If it happened, it already happened. Why would the Mishnah have to say kat v'shayna? That's in the past. That's not. The Mishnah is not talking about the past. So therefore Rava says, Hachi Kamar. This is what the Mishnah is saying. Im eina ella kat achas nereges. If it's only one group that the second Edom were mazim, then we kill that first group of Edom. But a yikit fei, if there's additional groups of Edom that the second group of Edom are being mazim, ein nerogen. Then we do not kill any of them at all. But how could that be the pshat in the Mishnah? But the Mishnah though clearly says that ein enereg al katri shayna bulvad, which is mashma. There's additional groups of Eidim here, but we're only going to kill the first group. Says the Gemara could also ask from the word Harishaina. It says in the word Rishaina, which is mashma, that there's more than one group over here. So the Gemara doesn't answer this. Kasha. This remains a question on the Lashon of the Mishnah, what Rabbi Yehuda said. The Gemara brings a story that happened, there was a woman, the Aisi Sadi, she brought testimony to prove her case, and Veishtaker. It was found that the Bezdin interrogated the Eidim, and it was found that they were liars. Aisi Sadi, so she brought another group of Eidim to prove her case. Veishtaker, and again they were found to have been Eidim that are liars. So Azla Aisi Sadi Achrine, she went to bring a third group of Eidim to prove her case. And the Loyishtaker. And here, this third group of Eidim, they were interrogated, and they were not found to have saying that they're saying any lie. Rish Lakish says on this, no, at this point you can't accept any of the Eidos. She already has established a certain status that she is looking to bring Eidim that are not honest and to lie for her. So we can't trust these Eidim anymore. Amalei Rabbi Lazar, so Rabbi Lazar argues with Rish Lakish and says, even if we see that she is bringing false Eidim, Kol Yisrael Yuchsaku, could we say that all Yidden are in this status of being liars? So, yeah, the other groups of Eidim are different Yidden, and then the third group are different Yidden. So you can't say that because Reuven and Shimon lied, there's a chazaka that Levi and Yehuda are going to lie, or that Yisachar and Zvulun are going to lie. So therefore, if there's a third group of Eidim here now, and we interrogated them, and they are found to say the truth, we accept these Eidim. So the Gemara brings what happened here, that Zimnin once it happened that Rabbi Yosef Kamei, Rabbi Yechanan, that Rish Lakish and Rabbi Lazar were both sitting in front of Rabbi Yechanan, and Asaki Hai Maisel Kamaya, and such a kind of incident happened in front of them, that someone brought Eidim and the first and second group were found to be liars, and now the question was, should we accept a third group of Eidim that was brought that seemingly are saying the truth? Rish Lakish, so Rish Lakish spoke up and said, no, there's a clear chazakah that this woman is bringing Eidim that are liars. So now Rabbi Yechanan responded and said the same svara that Rabbi Lazar said, Im Kol Yisrael mi hochseku. Even if this woman is bringing false Eidim, but how could you say that these Eidim are liars? You can't make this chazakah for all Yidden. So now when Rabbi Yechanan said this, Rabbi Lazar bishus. So after this, Rabbi Lazar looked at Rish Lakish with sort of an angry face, because he understood that when Rabbi Lazar argued with him, it wasn't his svara. Rabbi Lazar heard this from his Rebbe, Rabbi Yechanan. So Rish Lakish was wondering, why when Rabbi Lazar argued, didn't he say it in the name of Rabbi Yechanan? Why did he just say it in his own name as if this is his own svara? He should have said it in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Okay, now this is the argument over here regarding such a kind of case. So the Gemara goes on to say what Rabbi Lazar, what Rish Lakish is told Rabbi Lazar. Amalei shamet mili mi barnafche. You heard this point from Barnafche. This is one of the ways Rabbi Yechanan was referred to, either because Rabbi Yechanan's father was a blacksmith, a nafche, or because Rabbi Yechanan himself was so beautiful, and euphemistically he's referred to as a nafche, as a blacksmith. And and you're not saying it in his name. Why are you not telling me that this svara that you said is not yours, it's from Rabbi Yechanan? Okay, so now the Gemara explains this argument regarding this case. Should we say that there's a chazakah, that these are false Eidim? Or should we say that no, that each one of the Eidim are separate and you can't connect one to the other? So Leimesh, shall we say this is connected to the Machlokes in our Mishnah? Rish Lakish, Damek Rabbi Yehuda. Rish Lakish that says there's a chazakah that this false Eidim here is similar to what Rabbi Yehuda says in the Mishnah. Just like Rabbi Yehuda says in the Mishnah, when Eidim come and are mazim, one group, another group, and another group, there's an assumption that these Eidim are liars. Similar over here, I say that there's an assumption that this woman is bringing false Eidim. So therefore, we can't accept. But Rabbi Yechanan Damek Rabbanan. However, Rabbi Yechanan says like the Rabbanan, just like Rabbanan said in the Mishnah, that these Eidim could be mazim, one group, and another group, and there's no connection between one and the other, and they're all going to be Eidim Zaimimin. Same here, each one of these Eidim have to be looked at separately, and if the last group is found to be saying the truth, we have to accept it. Rish Lakish, says the Gemara, no, Rish Lakish will answer you, my opinion could work even according to the Rabbanan that say there that these Eidim could be mazim, all these groups of Eidim. But can like Rabbanan hasam the leket the komahader. Rabbanan say there that we trust these Eidim to be mazim, many groups of Eidim, because we don't see anybody that's interested in bringing false witnesses. Aval hacha, but over here, ikke ha the kamahadra. We clearly see that there's this woman that's bringing one group of Edom to prove her point, another. So there's something fishy about the fact that she is bringing forward these false Edom. That's why we're concerned about this. Rabbi Yechanan Amar, on the other hand, Rabbi Yechanan Amalach, he'll tell you, Rabbi Yehuda. What I said over here, that each one of these groups of the Edom are separate, that would work even according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Because Ad can lekam Rabbi Yehuda Hassam, the reason why Rabbi Yehuda over there says that you can't accept what these Edom are saying, that all of these are Edom Zaymimin, because the Amrinam, there we say, Otu Kula Alme Gabe Hane Hava Kaime, all of these Edom were together with these two Edom in the same location. Whichever Edom come, like it said, even if 100 Edom come, and these Edom are coming and saying, Imanu Ayisim b'makom ploini, you were with us in this place. Is it logical to say they were all with them in that place? So that's why there, Chachamim say you can't accept it. Avol hacha, but over here, Hani Yadi b'sadusa, V'hani lo Yadi b'sadusa. Over here, it's separate groups of Edom, and it could be that this group of Edom are liars and they do not know, but she then went and found other Edom that were actually there, and they do know, and therefore they are saying the truth, so therefore you have to accept her Edus. The punishment of Kashazamam that applies to Edom Zaymim, if they intended to give someone Misa that goes back on them, they will not be killed until not only that these Edom testified falsely, but there was already the ruling of the Bezdin on this. Now, Shaharei Tzaddik, the Tzaddikim that didn't accept the interpretation of Chachamim and the Psukim, so they would say that the whole din of Edom Zaymimin is only if, based on the false testimony, that individual was already killed. Shanema, because the pasuk says nefesh tachas nefesh, that you take one soul in the place of the other, that they caused already that this person should die. But now Amr Lehem Chachamim responded and said, but V'aloi Kfar Nema, the pasuk says, V'asisem loy kashazomam lasais le'achiv, that you do what he intended to do for his brother. V'harei achiv kayim. Le'achiv means that the brother is still alive. Or as Rashi brings it before a few times in the Drasha, kashazomam v'loy kasherasa. So you see clearly in this pasuk here that it only applies when the chiyuv of misa was not yet done for the nidin. Now, why does the Torah use this expression, a soul in the place of a soul? Because Yachayel, I would think, as soon as this false testimony was just accepted, even before the Psak Din was fulfilled, you should give the Chiyav Misa to these Edom Zaymimin. Nefesh Tachas Nefesh is teaching that only when there was an actual Gmar Din, the ruling of the Bezdin, then the Edom Zaymimin get their punishment. So Tana, we learned in the Braisa, Biribi said, according to Rashi, this is the name of a Tana, or of a Chacham, an Amayre, that Loi, it's a Braisa, not Tana, Loi Hargoi Neragin, if they did not kill yet this individual that they testified about, then the Edom Zaymin will be killed, but Hargu Ein Neragin. But if they did already kill him, then he will not be killed. So Amar Aviv, his father said, Bini, my son, how do you say such a halacha? Lav kavachaimehu. Is it a kavachaimer to say that if in a case where they said false testimony and they only intended to kill him with the ruling of the Bezdin, but he was not killed yet, and you give the einish of kashazamim to them, shouldn't it definitely apply even more so in a case when they already killed this person? Amaloi, so Biribi answered his father, Limadetanu Rabbeinu, our Rebbe taught us, She'ein ein shemin. You don't give an einish based on a kavachaimer. The Tanya, what's the source of this? So by Arayas. And we had this in Gemara Sanhedrin. The source by Arayas, as we see this, the pasuk says, Isha sheyikach hashtachaisai, one that has a relation with his sister, which is either Bas Aviv, not a full sister, or a sister because they share the same father, or Bas Imai, or a sister they share the same mother. So that's the kind of sister the pasuk clearly says. Now, Ein Li'ela, Bas Aviv, Shalei Bas Imai, or Bas Imai, Shalei Bas Aviv. So I see either it's only a paternal sister or a maternal sister. Bas Imai u Bas Aviv minayin. How do I know if it's a full sister that the Isser of Arayas applies as well? Talmud Leima, the pasuk says, Ervas Achaisai Gilo. An additional pasuk that he exposed and he had a relation with his sister, that's even a full sister as well. Now on this you could ask, even if you want to have this extra pasuk, yeshli bedin, I have a kavachaymer. Im ana shal bas aviv, shaloi bas imi, bas imi shaloi bas aviv. If the Torah says that there is the einish for this isser of a relation with a sister by a half sister, so bas aviv u bas imay lekol. Definitely, if it's a full sister sharing the same father and mother, definitely the einish should apply. Shekain. So halamadata, from the fact that the Torah writes the extra pasuk, we learn from here she'ein einshin min adin. You'd never give a punishment just based on a kal v'chomer. Says the Gemara, Oynesh Shamaynu. Okay, so this is the source that a punishment cannot be based on a kal v'chomer. As hara minayin. Every time there's a punishment, you also need a pasuk in the Torah for the warning. From where do we know that when it comes to a warning, you also can't create a warning just based on a kal v'chomer? There has to be a warning clearly in the Torah. So you also see this from the same exact case where the Torah gives the warning for the erve, the forbidden relationship with a sister. Because Talmud Leima, the pasuk says, erva sachaischa, basavicha oy basimecha, that a sister, whether a paternal sister or maternal sister, then you'll be chayiv misa. Here it's actually not talking about the chayiv misa, it's talking about the warning. Ainli elo bas aviv shaloi bas imay or bas imay shaloi bas aviv. So in the pasuk it clearly says where it's only a half sister. Bas aviv u bas imay minayin. How do I know when it's a full sister that there's the warning as well in this case? Talmud Loim, the pasuk there says ervas bas eishes avicha miledes avicha chaischa hi. This added words in the pasuk is coming to say that a full sister, the azhara, the warning applies here as well. So again, the Gemara, the Braisa says, even if it wouldn't say this clearly, Mam, who's an al basaviv shaloi bas, again, bas imay shaloi basaviv, u basaviv shaloi bas imay. If it's only a half sister, the Torah says the warning not to have a relation with her, basaviv u bas imay. If it's both the father and the mother that you have, this the same, it's a full sister, like al shekain, definitely you have the warning. So halamadata, from here we learn she'ein masirim min adin, that you can't bring a source of a warning for an isser based just on a kal v'chomer. Furthermore, the Gemara says, Chayve, Malkius Minayin. How do I know that this concept that you don't give a punishment based on a kal v'chomer, not only regarding a Chiyav Misa, like it is in this case here, but also for the Chiyav of Malkus as well? Talmud Loimar, Rasha. As the Zerushav the Gemara brought before, it says the term Rasha by Misa and by Malkus, and I compare them. Chayve, Golius Minayin. How do I know the same applies to Chiyav Golus as well? Asya Reitzeach. You learn out the Zereshava of the term Reitzeach that it says by Reitzeach b'Mezer and by B'Shoigig as well, that the two are compared, that you can't give the Einish or Azhara based on a Kal v'Chomer. Now the Gemara does not go on to say that the same would apply by a money matter. It only talks about Misa, Malkus, and Golus. So therefore Tosfos and Baba Kama and other places says that when it comes to money, the Einish of Edom Zaymimin is not only Kashazama, it's even Kasharasa. Why? Because with a Kal v'Chomer. And regarding a money matter, we don't say Ein Einshem Min Adin. There will be an Einish even for Kasharasa. That's Tosfos' opinion, but the Rambam and other Rishonim disagree that the drasha that's Kashazama and V'loi Kasharasa applies even by a money matter. I mentioned already before when we learned on the first blot that this concept of Kashazama and V'loi Kasharasa, so why tak is this so? That if someone intended to kill someone, then he gets the Einish of Kashazama. But if it actually happened, then these Eidim do not get a punishment for this. So the Ramban in Parshas Shoftim says the reason is because if you see that the Gemara Din of the Bezdin brought that we actually killed this individual, Klap Ishmaya Galya, that this person was chayiv that misa for whatever reason. And therefore, it's the Psaktim was emes, Klap Ishmaya. Tanya in a Braisa we learned Tamar Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai said, Ere ben Achama, I should see the consolation when the Eibusher will build a Beis HaMikdash. In other words, he means to say that I would not see im lo yarakti, if it's not true that I did not kill aid zaymim, I did not kill an aid, a false aid that intended to kill someone else. Lo haitzi milibna shel tzaddikim, in order to take out of the opinion of the tzaddikim. Shahayu ayimnu, that they said, as it said in our Mishnah, ein edim zaymim neragin achi yehareganidin, that edim zaymim do not get their chiyuv misa unless that person that they said Eidus about was already killed. And he says, and I killed Edom Zaymin even before he was killed. In order to be mitzi of what the Tzadikim say. Okay, but now the thing though is, as you see here, the Braisa says that Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai killed one Eid Zaymin, which means only one of the Eidim were found to be a false witness. Amalei Shimon ben Shatach, Shimon ben Shatach says to Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai, Ere ben Achama im lo shafachta dam naki. That I can tell you for sure, and he says this term, the same term of Ereb ben Achama, that you spilled blood that was not supposed to be spilled. Sharei omru chachamim, because the chachamim said, Eina edem zayim min neragin. The punishment for edem zayim of kashazamim does not apply ad sheyizu mishneim, unless you mazim both of the edem. Ve'ein loikin, and you don't give the punishment of kashazamim if it's malchus ad sheyizu mishneim, unless both of them are found to be false edem. So it turns out that what Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai actually did was a mistake. So it says in Mefarshim that really what Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai did, his intention, he knew this drasha, that one aid cannot be killed when he's found to say a lie. But he was doing this with the purpose to be Maitzi Milibin Shal Tzedaikim. And we find sometimes that Chazal have this permission to, or Bezdin has the permission to give a Chiyav Misa, even if it's not Mamash a Chiyav Misa al Piteire. But, well, we don't find it clearly by Chiyav Misa, you find it by other halachas. But over here, Reb Shimon ben Shattach told him that not for Chiyav Misa. That to this extent, to give a person Chiyav Misa when there is no Einish of Kashazam al Piteire, you shouldn't have done this. So when Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai heard this, Miyad Kibul Olav Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai accepted upon himself that he's not going to paskin again a halacha himself in a bezdin unless he's in front of Shimon ben Shattach. And v'chol yom of all of his lifetime, Shal Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai, he would go there to the kever of this individual that he killed him in the bezdin, and they would hear his voice. And people thought to say that who did they hear there? That is whose voice did they hear? Shalhadok, the voice of the person that was actually killed. That it was his voice. But Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai said, "Koili shelihu." It's my voice that I was crying there for this that I did, that I killed this person. And he said, "I'll prove it to you, Teidu, that it's my voice and not the person that was killed, because Lamacharu Meis." Tomorrow or eventually when I will die, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai is saying about himself, "Ein koil nishmi." You're not going to hear that voice anymore. But the Gemara says on this, that's not a proof that it wasn't the voice of the person that was actually killed. Maybe after Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai died and he went up in Bezin Shalmaila, then they made a din between themselves, and therefore the harug, the person that was killed by him, stops crying. Or Yinami Piyusi Paise, when he goes up Lamaila, he appeased him, and therefore that voice is stopped. So not necessarily was it Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai's voice, could be it was the voice of that person that was killed over there.